All right, everybody. Good afternoon. I am Illinois Stormwatch forecaster JD, Vice Forecaster JD Rapp with you with Isaac, forecaster Isaac Shock today. Today's December 29th, 2020, and we're taping this at 1:47 p.m. We're talking about the potential for winter weather, and I want to turn things over to Isaac right now.
All right, so we can see some heavier snow bands that are pushing through much of the Illinois Valley. I'm here in Morton, or just east of Peoria. I mean, just a few minutes ago, I just saw a little bit of a dusting on the pavement near the parking lot across the street. But now I can see. Looks like we've gotten a dusting of snow so far, and I've seen various reports, especially coming out of Western Illinois area. We are seeing some sharply reduced visibilities with this, where the heaviest snow did in fact fall. I think we've gotten some various reports of at least half inch or more of snow around Galesburg. Other areas in western parts of Illinois. So, I mean, we can definitely tell where the heavier snow bands or heaviest snow rates are pushing through. So, I mean, this is so I mean, and a lot of the so we'll definitely get in. We'll definitely talk about the freezing rain potential. So, I mean, this is overall expected to develop into a wintry mix. A lot of what we have going on this afternoon so far has been in the form of snow, a little bit of light freezing rain mixed within there as well. But what we're expecting is we're going to see what we consider a temperature inversion profile above the ground. So, I mean, that's going to help increase the potential for freezing precip. So freezing rain, sleet potentially as well, and we'll get into detail about some of the model guidance. I mean, first of all, what I want to show everyone here, if you'll bear with me a second here, is I'm gonna show you guys kind of my outline in terms of. So, I mean, this is obviously just the trends, or this is the accumulation or the snowfall trend. Touch with that soon. Here's the QF map overall. So I'm going to look at the day 1 to 2 outlook. Again, this is the Weather Prediction Center, what they think, the liquid equivalent form of precip we're likely to expect. So, I mean, this is liquid equivalent, not exclusive to the amount of liquid precip. And I'll tell you guys what I mean here. So, I mean, when we're looking at over here across northern parts of the state here into Zero Zulu, that's actually this graphic here goes to Zero Zulu Friday, January 1st. Okay, so this is day 1 to 2 all the way into Thursday nights. But again, overall, this is counting for what we're experiencing today. So this is exclusive to day 1 here. So at least an inch of liquid equivalent precip. So this is where a majority of the precip will end up falling across northwest Illinois, north central Illinois as well, for most areas near the Wisconsin and Iowa line, close to the Mississippi River. But I will tell you guys, an inch of liquid equivalent precip. A lot of this will end up being snow in the form of snow, sleet, potentially some freezing rain as well, especially when we get to areas where there's a thicker temperature inversion profile where the air is above 0 degrees Celsius above the ground. And a lot of that air up here has been saturated, as I've looked at some of the sounding data and the temperature profiles. So I'll show you guys what I mean here. Oh, I'm going back to day 1. I'm going a little too far, but here's some of the model trends or the HRRR guidance that I've looked at. But again, this is just out of curiosity how we've seen this. We're not thinking that all of this is going to fall as freezing rain. So, I mean, you can definitely tell earlier model runs have shown the heaviest freezing rain over here. And we're not necessarily, like any totals that are like above 2/10 inch, first of all, these are going to be fairly localized in my opinion, because a lot of, again, as we pointed out, a lot of that air above the ground is saturated. And when we see that warmer air above the ground and then cooler air, much cooler air that's at the surface that's below freezing, that's when we're talking potential ice accretion on obviously most paved surfaces, some tree branches, elevated grassy surfaces potentially too, and also considering things like bridges, overpasses, all any elevated areas and pavement, that's going to be particularly concerning here. But I mean, you can see like some of these model outputs are showing like over 3/10 inch of ice. Like, I mean, 3 to 4/10 inch ice. I'm thinking that anything happens, like in theory, that would probably be very localized. It's not going to be like widespread accretions this high. This is mostly accounting for the moisture that's above the ground. And I mean, not all of this is going to be reaching the ground here, the 3/10 inch accretion here. Like any surfaces that are above the ground too, we got like, I mean, basically there's no surfaces above the ground. But again, this is accounting for the amount of moisture that is available with this and the temperature inversion layer, all that air that's saturated above the ground. Again, that's why we're seeing these model outputs. So in theory, but just looking at these model trends, looks like overall, now we're talking a little bit higher ice accretion over much of the Illinois Valley, just points north of and towards, like, let's say parts of Tazewell, Marshall, Livingston, Woodford counties. A lot of these counties up towards the like the south suburbs towards Kankakee as well. I mean, potentially we could see 1 to 2/10 inch ice potentially extending towards up here as well. So I mean, potentially some counties here in our National Weather Service Chicago forecast area, I think they've considered winter storm warnings if they have not.
Yep, I think
already.
so.
I'm going to just clarify, see how that.
Yeah, while you do that, I'm going to make a little talk here about this winter weather event. I just want to say, folks, it only takes several a few tenths of an inch of ice to make things very slippery and very impassable to go on. I mean, this doesn't look like a major winter storm for our area, but however, it only takes a little bit, especially a freezing rain, to get on the power lines. Even a quarter of an inch is enough to start breaking the power lines, and we'll have power outages. So, am I correct, Isaac?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and just looking here, this is what the Weather Prediction Center thinks. This is the 24-hour probability of freezing rain exceeding, well, this is obvious. I want to start here. This is 1/100th of an inch of ice. I mean, we're definitely talking, we're seeing a very high probability of seeing at least like 80% chance confident. We're going to exceed several hundredths of an inch of ice. In particular, across most areas across northern. Oh, this is. I'm looking at this here. This is what I'm paying attention to here.
Wow.
We'll look into Wednesday here later, but I mean, we're definitely confident of at least a couple hundredths of an inch of ice extending across most of western, like most of northern and western parts of the state. And again, this is into Wednesday morning, and a tenth of an inch of ice. We're definitely still confident, at least above 50% chance of exceeding that. Again, this is we'll definitely be seeing, but we'll have to watch for about a tenth of an inch of ice across most parts of northern Illinois and western Illinois as well. And some areas could exceed 2/10 of an inch as well. And we're going to be watching mostly areas towards the Mississippi River, extending towards some locations across north central, northwest parts of the state as well. And again, when we're talking probabilities in these green colors, 10, 20, maybe 30%, this is accounting for, like, there's a 30% chance within so many miles of any given location.
25 miles a point.
In these color, well, that's, oh, hold on. Oh, this is, yeah, the 24, like anywhere within here, and not accounting for any miles within any given location, like anywhere within this green part or this green area, anywhere, you'll see at least 10 to 30% chances exceeding maybe a tenth to 2/10, maybe a quarter inch. But again, this is into Wednesday morning. But again, now we're talking into Wednesday afternoon. Now we're not as confident that we'll exceed a quarter inch of ice closer to Chicago or South Suburb or anything like that. But now when we're talking into Wednesday afternoon, we're seeing some potential ice accretion towards areas closer to Chicago, maybe some of the western or southwest suburbs. But now we're talking into Wednesday evening. Now we're talking some areas, later in the day on Wednesday. Looks like maybe an ice accretion up to a tenth, locally up to 2/10 of an inch, probably. That's according to the National Weather Service in Chicago. But again, this is freezing rain accumulating. But again, liquid equivalent. Just looking at this, there's a lot of saturated moisture that's going to be available. So, I mean, we'll potentially see a lot of this in the form of snow or sleet as well. So we're not just talking, well, I mean, the tenth of an inch, maybe 2/10 of an inch of ice could be also on top of several inches of snow, sleet as well.
Yeah, let me explain something again. I'm going to tell people another thing. Even when you have several inches of snow, it doesn't matter whether we get 2, 3. If you get a quarter of an inch on top of that, it's going to be a big, slippery mess. Am I correct?
And, so I'm going to look at the probability starting at 4 inches of snowfall. So, I mean, we are fairly confident of at least 4 inches of snow for most areas across northern, or like mostly north central, northwest parts of the Illinois there, near the Wisconsin state line. So, I mean, we'll definitely see at least 4 inches of snow, potentially 4 to 8 inches of snow, especially towards, let's say, Galena, other areas across north central, northwest Illinois, mostly localized around here. But again, this is where we're having more of a sharp cutoff, where there's going to be more like above freezing air above the ground to work with. So, I mean, this could be potentially where we see a couple inches of sleet as well. So just combined with all this. But again, I'm confident that the highest snowfall, or the Weather Prediction Center is confident as well. I definitely spend the guide look at the 10 row of the highest snowfall through Wednesday morning being centered close to, let's say, Galena, towards Dubuque, and as we head into Wednesday afternoon, kind of the same story. So, I mean, we'll potentially see some light to moderate, like some moderate snowfall persisting into Wednesday as well. Oh, this is mostly confined to a certain period of time. Probably this will all be out of here by Wednesday late morning, perhaps. We'll continue to track these developments. But yeah, I mean, all right. And just to overview once again, this is the accumulated snowfall 10-to-1 liquid ratio. And again, this is obviously we're not expecting a foot of snow out of this. This is when we're thinking this early model run earlier in the day. This output that we're seeing here thinks that all of this liquid equivalent precip that's available would be falling in the form of snow, like exclusively falling as snow, with these heaviest snow bands and all of that saturated air that's available being right here. This is what it thought. So, like, now we're thinking like potentially locally a foot of snow in some locations with that, just depending on where that banding did set up. And like that's what the HRRR thought. Some models, obviously this is definitely overdone around the I-88 corridor towards Illinois Route 84. But now,
Yeah, here's one of my models.
Compare this model trend to 16 to Zulu. Now this run, look how much it takes off of it, because now we're thinking more of this will fall as sleet. We're not thinking all of this will fall as snow. We're thinking potentially what could fall in the form as sleet. So this potentially 6 to 8 inch widespread, maybe localized amounts that could exceed 10 inches, or like in some locations where all of that banding does. Well, I've looked at, and we might be talking like snow bands that may have hourly fall rates, potentially an inch, maybe an inch an hour locally. That does set up. I mean, maybe we'd be talking like localized accumulation that could be above 8 inches, of course. I mean, so again, like areas around Davenport, Rockford, a lot of these locations across northwest, north central Illinois. And we're still fairly confident. Looks like the 17 Zulu run, you can definitely tell now, 9 inches, 6 to 9. So we're still setting up some confidence. And the 17Z run, and compare that to the 18Z run, now we're fairly confident that now the heaviest axis of snow will definitely be in place across, well, in terms of snowfall, a lot of these areas, like where we're seeing like potential maybe up to 2 inches of snow. This is going to see maybe 1 to 2 tenths of ice on top of it, which is going to add to the danger with this. So I mean,
Yeah.
A lot of this, where all of this air is available, it will be in the form and some sleet on top of this, sleet and a little bit of freezing rain. So like total snow and sleet accumulations between 6 and 10 inches, and or fairly probably a tad bit more than that in some area where where we're probably going to see some sleet, where some of this is lighter as well. So I mean, and this will probably be on top of maybe a 10th inch ice accretion on some areas, and where the strongest winds do set up, and there's even winter storm warnings extending towards some of these counties down here, where maybe you're seeing like over 2 inches of snow. I mean, this is just on the snowfall side, but again, when we're talking 1 to 2 tenths inch ice at the very least, and obviously this is overdone because of the conditions that are further aloft.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably not, like if we do see 3/10 of an inch of ice, it'll probably be an isolated, elevated area that's further aloft. Now that this snow is definitely picked up now, and now we're seeing a coda on pavement out here. I'll show you what we have going on now. If you'll allow me, I'm gonna show you guys my window.
And I'm gonna say, even you see a quarter of an inch ice or 3/10, it's still gonna make slippery conditions.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we're seeing mostly snow up to this point, and you can definitely see that a lot of this snow has accumulated. A little bit of a dusting ground, and you can see the pavement out there, the roads, the parking lot. You can see a lot of this is dusted onto there, and we're going to start seeing a temperature inversion profile, what we consider that soon, where the temperature is above 0 degrees Celsius, a little bit further aloft, and depending on how that sets up closer to the ground, that's going to be contingent on, or like any freezing rain, sleet, or anything that mixes in that may lead to some icing, will be contingent on how closer that saturated air further aloft, or how broad that inversion layer we get, because there's a much stronger wind above the ground, or above the surface. And just looking outside here, I bet visibilities are well under a mile now. Like earlier, just like less than 30 minutes to an hour ago, I looked outside and like I didn't really see any snow on the ground. Maybe just a little bit on the ground before the snow fell, or that was mostly about an hour ago, probably. But I mean, the visibilities weren't like they now they're much lower than they have been. I mean, we were like well above a mile visibility. Now we're under a mile visibility. You've just seen what we have going on here. But yeah, I mean, just goes to show how concerning everything has been. And
Yeah. And like I said, if you don't have to get out, stay home.
Well, yeah, I will. Obviously, things are still going to deteriorate across much of the northwest parts of the state. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to radar.
Here, I'll show you. I'll get you back there.
Okay, I'm putting on my radar scope. There we go. So now I have some. So we can see how that snow is set up progressively. Now we're mostly talking snow at this point because any temperature inversion profile, it's not broadly over 0 degrees Celsius near the ground. This is mostly just moderate snow showers that are pushing through, and I'm going to see if we have any local accumulation reports leading up to this point.
Here, I'll check that for you.
But yeah, I can definitely tell. The up to this point, a lot more snow has fallen in, like, let's say, Western Illinois. A lot, and the snow. We can definitely tell the snow has developed towards areas east of Peoria over the past while here, and I'm gonna go to ILX.
Yeah, Isaac, can I show one of my graphics quick for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was getting ready to do that earlier, but you were kind of busy showing something else. This is the ice accumulation for the Paducah site. I'm a little concerned in this orange color where we can see up to a 1/4 inch of ice.
Yeah, I will point out this is on. This is going to be potentially midweek. There's another reinforcing shot of cold air and moisture, or with this. We'll potentially see another wave push through midweek, and this is where we're potentially talking still an inversion profile with this. So I mean, we'll potentially see a potential wintry mix, as the National Weather Service Paducah has pointed out. And I'm going to go back to over the next course the course of the next day or so. Obviously, now we're talking increasing temperatures further aloft, and then that's going to help develop some freezing rain. And you can see a lot of this freezing rain.
This is a potent storm system.
Northern Missouri, across parts like near St. Louis. I'm gonna take a look at the KLSX radar just to see how things.
Since we're on here, can I show them the Storm Prediction Center outlook also right now, or not?
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely have the severe side.
Yeah, we do have something else to show everybody, but if anybody traveling to the south, I mean, this is down at Dixie Alley this holiday weekend. Storm Prediction Center has been watching this system for the last couple days, and I've been taking a look at it. Me and Isaac have been watching this, and we do have this slight risk, and it could be pretty strong. I'm going to turn things over to you right now.
All right, yeah, definitely. So just talking about how things are going to be trending towards, with this overall disturbance. I mean, today we're mostly talking, we're seeing a line of storms, a little bit of convection that's forming off in Oklahoma, towards Kansas along this front. And we're going to be paying attention to like areas like Big Spring and Midland, Odessa, Texas, that's kind of where we're seeing that marginal risk for today. And then tomorrow it shifts down towards the Gulf Coast, most of the severe threat. But we're bearing our eyes onto Thursday, New Year's Eve, and that's up for you.
And here's Friday.
Well, We'll talk about that's the threat over the Carolinas too. This is a highly sheared environment, so I mean any storms you do end up seeing across the South here. I mean the Gulf is a source of a lot of surface-based, surface-driven, and more elevated instability. So I mean at least 91,000 square, almost 92,000 square miles, and covering at least 7 million people from New Orleans to Jackson, Mississippi to Mobile, Alabama, much of like eastern Texas, much of Louisiana, Mississippi, central and southwest parts of Alabama, parts of the panhandle of Florida as well under the gun for a potential severe weather episode during the New Year's Eve holiday. And what the Storm Prediction Center has been monitoring here, just the overall upper level system in general looks like this is going to be a more elongated upper level disturbance. And I'm going to look at the 500 millibar map while we do think of that. But again, this is going to be.
Look at this, Isaac. Look at this.
Okay,
I'm trying to pull up
the
significant tornado parameter.
Yeah,
this will get to the
yes.
Let's look how bad we get right here on New Year's Eve. This is significant. It's over a 4.
Yes, when we're talking values that high, and I mean, I see you have trying to figure out which model you have pulled up there.
The NAM.
Oh, that's the North American model, 12Z run. I mean, that is not necessarily what we consider to be a CAM guidance there, but I mean that does definitely depict that surface space more elevated, like a smaller area, maybe a tad bit more broader area of elevated instability with that. So I mean, this, and just talking about the high amount of shear, there's going to be plenty of like low level shear with this, and a lot of upper support with this disturbance. So I mean, when we're talking about this high amount of vertical shear and profiles, like we're potentially seeing some higher directional wind profiles, a lot some winds that are coming out of the south ahead of that, and then you can see. All right. I'm
trying to get the new one to load up here. This is a new model data, and definitely it's trying to pull up. This is going to be significant. So I want to tell everybody while we're on here, if you have to travel this weekend, and I know a lot of people are probably going to still for the New Year's Eve holiday, just be weather aware if you're on the winter weather side or the severe weather side, because these tornadoes could be pretty fast, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of guidance that, we'll see what the convection allowing guidance has to show, because I'm definitely curious how that turn out, because when we're seeing depictions like what we're seeing on here, we want to see how broad and spread out this high amount of instability is going to factor in with the overall shear that's depicted with this, the upper level. There's a consensus that I'm seeing with this upper level support with this. So I mean, any surface driven instability and the high amount of shear that's depicted, I mean, this could potentially lead to a more robust severe weather episode. And I'm going to look at the 1 day 500 millibar loop. I'm going to go ahead and show this really quick because maybe this has some helpful guidance that'll I did not want to open that. Because I want to make some inferences based off of what this data has been showing here. And stop screen. There, now we're back on some of the guidance here that I've been showing here. You can see how the synoptic scale trough. You can see the wave that's this is earlier. I can't see, but yeah, you can see how this wave has been progressing over the past several days. You can see that ridging, and then looks like I want to see a bigger loop because I don't think that's accurate. Well, yeah, I mean, this is where the this is where that upper level trough is centered, and then that's going to be this is going to be the system that slowly progresses over the Gulf as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. And that is going to be the basis for much stronger upper level moisture that'll be in place, and that's going to fuel the potential snow and ice event across sections of the Midwest as well, or the lower Mississippi Valley here. Okay, been getting some notifications there, so
still watching the significant tornado parameters. It takes time to load still.
All right, yeah, I mean, definitely, again, as we've inferred, you know, with the broad area of more elevated instability, I mean, just inferring, yeah, this is sounding data that I'm interested in seeing what we have here. But you can see there's a lot of surface-driven instability with that. I'm not really seeing an inversion profile. All of that air appears to be saturated. So, like when we're talking like dew points in the upper 60s, temperatures in the lower 70s, I mean, that is a really robust area of surface cape. And there's a lot of surface-based lifting too. And I'm going to look at the photographs there, and you can see. I can't really see because you don't have the whole thing set there, but I mean, just looking at that, I'm so interested. Yeah, the surface velocity 359 M2S2. That is really robust. And when we're talking values that high, we're potentially talking a few substantial. Longer, maybe stronger, maybe longer track tornadoes than with this potential setup across the south.
Me and Isaac may not even roll this out, getting an enhanced risk, would we?
Well, the Storm Prediction Center hasn't immediately hinted towards an enhanced risk yet, but I will point out that just depends on how things do organize over the coming days, because we don't really have much, you know, CAM guidance or convection allowing model or short-term trends to keep a close eye. And when we're talking like when we're able to get like 2-day HRRR or more high-resolution guidance to depict like how broadly spread out the more mixed layer instability will be, just and I'm pretty certain that you know longer term model guidance it's better at depicting a little bit better at depicting or storm relative helicity. So I mean,
look at this one
in terms of shear. I mean, yeah, that is very broad amount of mixed layer cape there, and almost 1,500 cape. I mean, that could be fairly robust. I mean, I'm just looking at that. You can see the 0 to 1 kilometer.
So this is why we're seeing that. I'll tell you why. Just look at the orange color here, right on Louisiana. Goodness.
Yeah, the orange color. I mean, when you're talking fixed layer significant tornado parameter, again, that is contingent on several things. And if any of those values do trend higher in terms of like storm organization, that's going to determine whether, you know, we could see a localized tornado event or maybe a more widespread tornado outbreak. You know, it's contingent on several things, you know.
Yeah, this is supercell composite.
Together. Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, show me what you're focusing on there.
Well, this is this. I want to take this off for a second. This is a supercell composite. Just look at the 5 there. This is about 100 knots.
100 knots SPD. Okay, so I mean, I think that has to do with the air that's focused a couple miles off the ground. So I mean, I've definitely been. I've looked at some of the guidance with this, but I mean, we're going to see potentially a strong jet streak, a lot of upper support with this. So I mean, if you get any low-level based convection or surface-based convection, a lot of it's surface-based.
Supercell 9.2. That's very strong in it. 9.2,
yeah,
right?
Again, that isn't a number between 1 and 10. No, like sometimes it maxes out, but again, if you know, it's a measure of how everything is coming together, you know, with the mixed layer instability and whatnot. Looks like the snow has stopped and the visibility has slightly improved at my location. So
here's 3 kilometer. We can look at that real quick.
all right.
All right, here we are. 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at here.
Okay, is that the that's 0 to 3 kilometer helicity. That's helpful in determine how we could potentially get some rotating updrafts, you know, more elevated rotating updrafts, you know, because any saturated air that's in place down there, you know, that could be potentially something that leads to, you know, upscale growth, like a storm that builds, you know, it's in the mature stage or the cumulonimbus stage where you know, the storm is growing, you got a high top. That's potentially where you could be seeing some hail, also stronger downdrafts, air that cycles down towards the ground. That's where we're potentially seeing a very healthy supercell that could potentially be producing any mode of severe weather, from like potential hail to, you know, a downdraft that cycles down towards the ground with the rotating updraft, you know, at the surface. That could be where, you know, potential rear flank could form with some of these cells. That could be a fairly substantial tornado threat. Also, in addition to the damaging winds and large hail with any cell that does.
Yeah, I just got a mesoscale here. You might want to take a look at this. We just got a mesoscale.
Storm Prediction Center says snow rates of 1 inch per hour spreading east this afternoon into early evening. Southern parts of the area may eventually mix with sleet and freezing rain. Yeah, exactly what we pointed out earlier. That temperature inversion profile is increasing there. And could you scroll down towards the discussion there? Because I want to see if the SPC has any particular mention.
I will do that.
Again, a lot of this will eventually change into freezing rain soon. And yeah, because I'm interested to see what their wording is, because it's, and organized snow bands where rates may approach 2 inches per hour at times. Because, I mean, because again, you know, when we're talking like liquid equivalent amounts that could trend a little bit higher. Again, if we're talking stuff like that, like local 2 inch per hour totals, I mean, that is also going to be problems for like maybe far western parts of Illinois, much of Iowa as well. That, you know, where freezing rain is expected to be an issue. Like this could be like 1 to 2/10 of an inch of ice when all is said and done. Maybe even more than that. Maybe more than a 1/4 inch, probably.
Like you said, when you start seeing more than 3/4 of an inch of ice, you're going to start seeing some down trees that can lead to some damage.
Yeah, again, very slick travel, nevertheless, with this disturbance. So we want to be very careful of how things do develop with this. And just to be clear, a lot of this is changing to freezing rain as we speak across far western Illinois and much of Missouri, and this will eventually overspread. This freezing rain and sleet, a lot of this snow that's falling south of the Quad Cities, west of Peoria towards like Galesburg, Macomb, any of those areas, we're eventually going to be transitioning to freezing rain as that temperature inversion profile sets up above the ground, about 1 kilometer off the ground. Maybe within the next hour or two, we're potentially going to be seeing some freezing rain mixing in, some ice accumulation when all is said and done. And I will point out, I'm going to see if we have any accumulation reports. I meant to check the Twitter feed in depth here, but it looks like I'm not really seeing any local storm reports yet. I'm going to see if the Quad Cities has issued some here. But yeah, over the past 2 hours, that's the mesoscale discussion. Looks like 2.5 inches of snow reported in Mount Sterling as of 2:12 p.m. All right. But again, not really much has came in terms of local storm reports, but most areas towards the Quad Cities, at least 2 inches of snow on the ground. And that is expected to increase where the heaviest snow rates are going to, potentially we could see 1.5 to 2 inches of snow, or hourly snow rates, I meant. But again, where the temperature inversion layer does, we could potentially see moderate freezing rain. So again, we're going to potentially see significant icing on top of several inches of snow in this overall. So, and something to be very careful
if you have to go outside tonight, do not, just be careful, because many times when older people go outside and try to shovel, you could fall down easy, and we definitely don't want the corona to get worse as you go into the hospital, and they might run out of things, right?
Well, sure. I mean, again, this is why travel's going to be. I mean, we don't recommend that. I mean, post-holiday travel is definitely a concern for us as we go about this storm system here. So again, you folks, particularly traveling on interstate highways, for example, or like interstate travel could potentially be an issue. And I mean, even just walking on paved or driving on paved surfaces, it's going to be really slippery. And definitely allow space for snow removal crews. And again, do expect slippery travel. And again, we only travel if you really have to.
Again, if
if
you don't have to go nowhere, stay home.
Recommend you avoid travel as much as you can.
And same thing with the severe side. I mean, you just these tornadoes are going to be moving so fast. We're continuing to watch the system. Do not take cover in a car in a tornado, right, Isaac?
Well, I mean, that's for you folks in the South. We'll keep an eye on the severe potential over the coming days and any new developments that come in. But I suppose this is a good place to stop on the live. We'll have some additional guidance for you as we head throughout the day. Follow us on USA Stormwatch, Illinois Stormwatch. We will have additional. If you have any additional. If you do have any additional questions or local developments, message our page. And again, we do expect, several inches of snow on the ground for most areas across northwest, north central Illinois, on top of a tenth to 2/10 of an inch of ice in some areas. So again, this is going to be a very dangerous travel situation, especially you folks in the northern half of the state. So you want to be very careful. If you do have to travel, only travel if you have to. And we will be back for additional developments as we and this is USA Stormwatch, Illinois Stormwatch.
I'm forecaster JD, so we'll continue to keep you updated from the day goes on.